Hello everyone, welcome to our tutorial. We are group 2 including 6 members, Lê Hà Chi, Lê Thanh Tú, Nguyễn Minh Hiếu, Trần Thị Quỳnh Chi, Phạm Hồng Nhung, and Nguyễn Minh Phương. Today we would like to review Unit 2 related to text analysis. And there are 3 main parts in our summary. The first one is the role of text analysis. The second one is factors of text analysis. And the last one is our conclusion. So right now we're going to start off by talking about the role of text analysis. The SOAR text analysis directs the translation process by providing the foundation for decisions about the feasibility of the translation project and appropriate translation strategies. Next, we're going to talk about 9 factors of text analysis. The first one, reading the text. Reading the text is the starting point. We read this to understand what the text is about and to analyze it from a translated point of view. After that, we have to continue with determining its intention and the way it is written for the project, the objective of choosing a suitable translation method. And when analyzing the text, we need to follow 2 kinds of reading. The first one is general reading, and the second one is close reading. General reading helps us to get the gist, the core meaning. In this process, we might need to search materials like textbook or specialist paper to deeply understand the subject and the concepts. Whereas close reading requires to read the words both out of the text, literal meaning, and in the text, interpretation. The second factor that I would like to mention is the intention of the text. The intention of the text represents the SOAR language writer's attitude to the subject matter. So when we render a text, we must pay attention to each and every word used by the SOAR language writer and the grammatical structure in order to determine the aspect from which the author sees the matter and deliver the same message and evoke the same feelings in the target language readership. For example, I have 3 sentences. The first one, sit in the sunshine and smile, bask in the brilliant rays, discover your giggle. Number 2, sit in the hot sun and smoke, recline in the glaring rays, hunt for that snicker. Number 3, sit in the warm sun and grin, relax in the warm rays, look for a chuckle. Even though all 3 sentences are written almost identically, the attitudes are very different. One is more relaxing. You can picture a lazy afternoon by the pool. The other is more joyful, maybe playing in the park on a sunny day. The other is definitely more sarcastic and negative, even though it's written about sitting in the sun. Another thing to remember in this step is that the title might be far from the content and the intention that the writers want to convey. Next, Quỳnh Chi will help us to introduce the following factors.
Thank you, Chi. And next, I will talk about the intention of the translator. As you know, the intention of the translator is easily identical with the intention of the author's source language text because the translator plays an important role in helping others understand and capture the information consistently. As a result, the translator should remain the intention of the author to avoid delivering the wrong message. However, in fact, the translator's intention may not be identical with the intention of the author. And the role of the translator is not only to translate and help others understand the message, but also to meet the needs of clients. For example, when the client's requirement is for advertisement, so translator can make a shorter translation of the source text. And when the client's requirement is for teaching or educating, so translator can make an over translation of the source text. To help you understand more about this part, let's take a look at an example here about bánh cuốn. And I have an example here. You can look at the slide. For example, I have some terms here. Bánh cuốn, stuffed pancake, Vietnamese steamed rice rolls, or nước chấm mắm, mixed fish sauce. Translation version includes the explanation and the description of the culture-specific concept. So you can see the intention of the translator here. In this case, is to translate for foreigners who don't know about Vietnamese culture concept such as bánh cuốn or nước chấm mắm. The translator can shorten or over-translate the source text for particular target readership. In the next part, the next factor is text type. The The literary or non-literary text is categorized into four main text types, including the narrative, description, discussion, and dialogue. I also have an example here. You can look at this text. This is a short story about the 16th birthday. In this story, you may see the face on my 16th birthday or at the end of the day. We are to answer the question when, and the author used a lot of verbs such as surprise me, slowly open the package. All of the signals that I mentioned is the signal of narrative text type. And the next factor is the readership. We have three main types of readership, which includes the expert, the educated layman, and the uninformed. The average text for translation tends to be for educated middle-class readership in an informal and not colloquial style. To enhance the quality of your translation, I think you should identify the readership of the source language text, identify the readership of the target language text. For instance, when you translate a story from Vietnamese into English, your readership is 5 years old children. So you cannot use complicated vocabulary and grammar for adults because your readership are children who may find it hard to understand. And the next part is the stylistic scale. There are three main types of stylistic scale, including the scale of formality, the scale of generality or difficulty, and the last one is the scale of emotional tone. Each scale has different levels. There is also much relation between the scales of emotional tone and formality that you can easily rely. I will give you some examples. About the first one, the scale of formality is how the sentence ranks from formal to informal when you translate. Actually, there are many different levels such as formal, neutral, informal, colloquial, and slang, and so on. I have an example here. You can look at the slide. And the next, the scale of generality or difficulty is how popular the vocabulary you use in the translation is. For example, you can look at this. You can see in this example, not all people know the definition mạng kiến tạo đại dương or quyển Sima. However, most people know the ocean and sea. And the last one, the scale emotional tone. I have an example here. Fracture, chết, understatement, tử vong, worm, qua đời, intense, xuống lũ, and as I mentioned above, there is a mutual relation between the scales of formality and emotional tone. It is undeniable that the word qua đời or tử vong is more formal and make a sense of comfort than the word xuống lũ. And the next part is about the setting of text. And Mr. Hiếu, can you help me to introduce this part?
Thank you, Chen Qi. I provide with you the next three factors of text analysis. Number 7 is the setting of the text. You have to decide on the likely setting. For example, where would the text be published in the target language? What is the target language equivalent of the short language newspaper, textbook, journal, etc.? Or who is the client you are translating for, and what are his or her requirements? You may need to consider briefer title, the absence of subtitle and subheadings, or shorter paragraphs. You have to make several assumptions about the short language readership. And earlier, she has mentioned the three typical reader types, particularly the expert, the educated layman, and the uninformed. So you have to consider whether you are translating for the same or the different type of the target language readership. And we have two examples about the word fever here. The word fever in the first example is a medical condition in which a person has a temperature that is higher than normal. It is used in the setting of studying about hemorrhagic fever. The word fever in the second example means the prevalence of football or the increasing taste of football. The setting here is an England football team has been in a match which attract many supporters from adult to children. And next is the quality of writing. You have to consider the quality of writing and the authority of the text. They are the two critical factors in choice of translation method. The quality of writing has to be judged in relation to author intention and the requirement of the subject matter. And what matters here is a fresh reflection of the reality outside language or of the writer's mind. And here in the example, you can see the word "tabut." You have to know the exact meaning of this word so as to make sure the translation version is precise and easy to understand. According to Vietnamese dictionary, the word "tabut" means khởi thảo văn bản theo ý kiến đã thống nhất của một cá nhân hay một tập thể. Last but not least, it is the last reading. You should note the cultural aspect of the short language text, and you should underline all metaphor, cultural word, and institutional term, or technical term and untranslatable words. Untranslatable words are like fuzzy, murky, dizzy, snark, snot. And you underline words that you have considered out of as well as within context in order to establish a semantic range and their frontiers. And the purpose of dictionary is to indicate the semantic ranges of words as well as through collocation and the main senses. And you have to study the text not for itself, but for something that you want to convey the precise and easy to understand messages to different readers in different cultures. In conclusion, we have gone through role and factors of text analysis and hope that this knowledge will be helpful for you in translating job in the future. Thank you for listening.